Hi everybody, welcome back. I'm Jamie Miller, PGA Teacher Professional, and today we're going to talk about choosing the right irons for you and your game. The reason we're doing this is because I don't think it's as straightforward as some people like to make it. Choosing the right iron for your game is not always just about picking the biggest, most forgiving club head. We have to take a little bit of a deeper look than that, so let's get into it. To do this test today, I've got three fantastic irons from Mizuno. I've got the JPX Hot Metal High Launch, I've got the JPX Forged, and I have got the Mizuno Pro 243. The reason I've chosen these irons in particular is because they cover a wide range of handicaps, as well as have different properties to try and make them perform in different ways for each player's individual needs. But enough about these irons, let's get into hitting some shots, and then let's look at the results and why maybe you need to take a longer look at the irons that you choose for your game than just what's marketed towards you. To start the test off with today, I'm going to use the Mizuno Pro 243. So of the three heads that we've got in today's test, this would be the one that I would go for. Love the way it looks, and as far as the fact that it's a Mizuno, I'm sure I'll love the way it feels as well. However, for today's test, I'm not going to be me. I'm going to be two different types of players. The first one is going to be a lower handicap player who doesn't have a lot of speed. These might be the people who tend to win your club championships, so they tend to be very accurate, especially with their irons and with their driver. They don't tend to get the ball out of play too often. So I'm going to swing, for this player, I'm going to swing around about 80 mile an hour. Which is kind of roughly your average club head speed for a 7-iron for your club golfer. And then for player number two, I'm going to put in a bit more speed. I'm going to swing roughly around about 90 mile an hour, but I'm going to add in some curvature, so I'm going to be trying to hit some big slices or some big fades. I'm going to use the differences between these two players to try and illustrate why it's important to look a bit deeper into the irons before they go into your golf bag, as well as maybe why custom fitting is a really good option and some of the things you should look for when you go get custom fit. So I've put a flag out there at about 150 yards. First up's going to be the sort of low handicapper who hits lasers at the flags and wins lots of club championships because they just never seem to miss a shot. Something I should mention for this test is I'm using a premium golf ball, so I'm using a TP5, a slightly higher spinning version, or TaylorMade's higher spinning version of the golf ball. That will become relevant a little bit later on, but for the time being, it's important to note that I am using a premium golf ball to get the best results here. Okay, so we're going for higher handicap time now. This will be interesting. We should see a few more curvatures, should see some more curvature on these shots. Okay, JPX Forged, low handicapper now. This high end looks so good. If you are in the market for new ones, then you like compact heads, this is very nice. Whether it performs well or not for this swing speed, we'll find out. JPX Forged with some curvature. Let's see how we get on. The reason I've chosen to put it on a green and not just hit it into a range, in case you're wondering, is when I actually hit the green, I want to show you what the stopping power looks like, because that's going to be something that we talk about towards the end of the video here. High launch time now. We're going high launch and the lower handicap. This will be interesting. It does sit slightly offset, so we might see a few more bigger draws when it comes to this particular swing. Just something to bear in mind. Might have slightly underestimated how far these guys are going to hit the golf ball. Oh, that was a good one. High launch, higher handicapper. Arguably, you'd think this is the one that's most suited together. Just something to note is I'm definitely not hitting these all in the middle of the club face, so you should see some of the strikes come up on screen that I'm hitting them a lot all over the face. Definitely not all out of the middle, unfortunately. So we should get some good data on whether these things are working in terms of helping me maintain ball speed, etc. Numbers time now, so if we look at the low handicapper first, looking across ball speeds, they're all the same, basically. The JPX high launch was the fastest ball speed with 111 miles per hour. Also launched the highest, which is kind of what you'd expect, it's in the name, high launch. Spin rates, similar. The 243, the lowest handicapper club, is the one that spins the most, which is a good thing in this situation. And standard deviations to the little number below the big backspin number, they're very tight, 195, which just means that I'm getting very predictable, consistent results with that particular club, all carrying between 153 and 156 and then stopping pretty quickly. So the one thing that I really want you to note here, so the JPX Forged club, this one here, which is sort of marketed towards your lower handicap, is not really the right club for this low handicap in this situation. Good ball speed, nothing wrong with ball speed, so it's maintaining ball speed in terms of the way it was struck, but it's launching quite low at 14.6. It's spinning the lowest of all the irons there. It's going the same distance in the air, but it's stopping after 10 yards. So if we were to put that in a real world situation, if the flag is at the front of the green, and I've got 155 yards to the flag, it's going to run out an extra 30 feet past the hole. If we compare that to the MP243, if I land that one by the flag, it's running out 8 yards past the hole, which is 24 feet. Now that 6 foot might not seem like a lot when you're standing out on the golf course, but for every inch past 3 foot you are from the hole, it's roughly 1% less chance likelihood of making that particular putt. So if we're 6 foot closer, even though we're still quite a good distance away from the hole, that 6 foot makes a huge difference to our scores because it gives us a certain amount of percentage points, more likelihood of holding those putts. For this golfer, what I would recommend is I'd recommend either the MP243 or the high launch club. That high launch club launching quite high, which is fantastic. A decent amount of spin, still a bit lower than you'd ideally want, but that extra launch and the reasonably high spin, peaking it out the highest you can sort of see there in the top left of the screen. The blue line is the highest, higher than the red one, which was the 243, and much higher than that Forged. Look at the higher handicap now. Ball speed's varying on these ones, so obviously with the MP243 being a slightly better player's club, not quite as forgiving. I'm possibly getting punished on my missed hits, although in saying that the standard deviation of ball speed roughly the same as all the other ones. It does have slightly more loft than the other two, so it's 1 degree weaker than the high launch and 2 degrees weaker than the JPX Forge. So loft may be playing its part in terms of the ball speed differential there. However, if we look at the launch angles there, the JPX Forged and the MP243 launching very similar, 0.6 of a degree in it, so not much. To be honest, you wouldn't notice that on the golf course. However, the high launch definitely launching the highest by 1.5 to 2 degrees more than the other two. This led to a much higher peak height, as you can see in the top left of the screen there, and an extra ball speed in the Forged and the high launch carrying out to an extra 6 yards of carry distance, and then in total running out a little bit further as well compared to the 243. What would I recommend for this player? Well, it's going to be very similar to what I would have recommended for the low handicapper. High launch here in this particular case is performing the best for this player, so it's got the highest ball speed, got the best launch, spin rate is reasonable and definitely manageable compared to the MP243, which is launching a fraction lower, but it's spinning quite considerably higher, and when we're going into the wind, that extra spin is just going to kick the ball up. We're going to lose quite a bit of distance. and maybe lose a bit of control when it comes to that kind of thing in the wind. That high launch club spinning a bit lower, but launching a bit high, giving us that much higher peak height. Good stopping power still, even though we've lost that spin compared to the 243. It's meaning that we can be a bit more accurate in terms of judging our distance, and that is where the key to this test lies. Iron play is the biggest separator across all handicaps, across the Tour Pros as well. The better you are with the irons, the more likely you are to have a lower handicap, and the more likely you are to win more money on tour as well. Scotty Scheffler's a prime example. Obviously, he's very good at the rest of the game as well, but he is the best iron player since Tiger Woods. He was the best iron player since Jack Nicklaus. If we want to improve that iron play, then we're going to have to look a little bit deeper. So when choosing clubs for ourselves, it's important that we select clubs that are going to give us more precision. And for this test, for both these players with different deliveries and different club head speeds, the high launch performed the best because it gave us the highest launching shot, the most manageable spin rate, as well as the best stopping power for both players. Having extra stopping power allows us to be much more precise with our iron play, and the more precise we can be with our iron play, the more likely we are to lower our scores, because we can get the ball to land closer to the hole and stop closer to the hole rather than relying on the bounce of the ball running up to the hole and guessing what's going to happen. Overall, I think that is a fantastic club, and it's definitely one you should try out. Every brand makes some kind of option of that, so if you don't like the Mizuno brand, definitely try something out that's very similar. Go and get fitted, see what works best for you. Try and get that iron play as dialed in as possible so that you can lower your scores. If you have any questions about anything I've spoken about at all today, please post them in the comments below. Otherwise, I'll see you all again soon.